No, Hal's planning.
Mike is out today, but I think Chris should be here. Hopefully Neil shows up.
How was my performance, SharePoint performance, or site performance talk on Saturday? Granite State Code Campus. I'd say friendly face. Maybe if I go to the live. Thanks. I was kind of surprised to see you there, but nice to see you there.
Hello, friends.
Hello, Mr. Riz.
That was such exciting. It's underwhelming.
It's called Monday.
Every day. It's COVID. Every day's Monday. Every day's Friday.
Well,
I
good
find
morning.
that paradoxical.
Sorry, I just faded the music out, so we're officially starting now.
Oh, we can actually talk now.
Well, you could talk before.
In violation of community office hour policy.
That's true. Well, you'll get a letter in triplicate informing you of the infraction. So, yeah, file
On
that.
carbon paper.
Yep.
I'm sure.
It's getting difficult to get the carbon paper now these days, Sean. I bet you didn't know that.
And toilet paper.
Yeah, that again. No, I think I've just been anticipating this, and each time I've gone to the store and bought like one of the jumbo packs, just one. I've not hoarded like multiples, but yeah, I think we'll be able to weather through the holidays in case there's a shortage here again. So
You just need the 3 shells.
the what? Oh,
Demolition Man reference.
yeah. Hey, well, welcome everyone to the Microsoft Community Office Hours. This is episode 35. 35. We've been doing this for 35 weeks. All right. Hey, so welcome. We got myself, Christian Buckley, Sean McDonough, Eric Riz, and Hal Hostetler. Mike Nelson is, what is he doing? Is he vacationing? Is he doing
I
something?
think he's organizing his sock drawer.
I thought he was going to be here today. I heard he was ironing. The organization happens after the ironing, and yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
All a process.
And Neil is back off the road, so I'm hoping Neil drops in. And then who knows? We could have some other people showing up here. You know, Liam always appears out of nowhere,
Always.
unannounced. I know. It's just kind of creepy. He's like
the
the
Keebler Elves.
no. It's like the guy in Elaine's office in Seinfeld, the Seidler, and he sidles up. You don't remember that episode?
I was not much of a Seinfeld person.
Oh.
So.
What are you, one of those Friends people? Come on.
No, I'm just not a television person.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I get that. So,
It's in the...
well, any homework or any outstanding items that you gentlemen would like to discuss before we get started?
Now that you ask that, I feel like I had something to say, but it's gone.
All right.
It's an age-related thing.
Excellent. It makes for a great video, Sean. Thank you for that. Anybody watching, if they would like to join in, have a question you'd like us to attempt to cover, you can see the top left corner. You've got the office hours at collabtalk.com email. You can send it to us, and we're answering questions. In fact, Sean, you answered a question, a past question.
That just prompted my memory.
Yeah.
From Mohaned. He was asking about, he has a user with an F3 license and a need to edit a Word file that was saved on a shared network on a Primos server, which is a print server. And can the user double click the file and have that file open on the web, which I interpreted to mean in the Microsoft Word application for the web. And yes, I did get back to him. The answer is not using his Office 365 license, because the Office web app servers that service Office 365, Microsoft 365, are restricted to the servers they're going to respond to requests from. So this is, if we think back to SharePoint 2010 and SharePoint 2013, these are the WAPI bindings, the web off acronym that means something.
I don't know. There's a good way to say that. WAP, or is that obnoxious video that's
No,
out
it's
there,
WAPI.
and WAP, which is not a good phrase either.
No, Web Application Open Platform Interface. So there's a web, Microsoft packages the Office web apps. If you want to use them in your organization and have the web applications wired up to your Exchange server and your SharePoint farm and whatnot, you're free to do that. And that would be the avenue he should pursue. But of course, that entails the purchase of additional software, perhaps additional servers, et cetera, to run it in-house. But if you want to use the web applications associated with Microsoft 365, you're going to have to source your documents from a Microsoft 365 service like OneDrive or SharePoint or something to that effect.
Did you have that in a blog, or was that just an email response?
It was an email response.
Okay.
So it was written, so it shall be done according to prophecy.
Yes. All right.
Got the hands up there too.
Well, let's jump right in. As you see from the questions, we've got from 3 different sources here today, so we'll see how many we can get through in the 90 minutes. And again, anybody watching on one of the live streams, we're live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and on Twitter via Periscope. You can ask a question. We're monitoring those locations, and we'll try and get to those. But we have a number of questions that have come from, so this first 6 questions come from the Microsoft Teams community out on Facebook. And Arslan asks, number 1, I have accidentally sent an email to my Microsoft Teams channel from Outlook. how do I delete that email from channel in Microsoft Teams?
And the silence is deafening. I don't know that you can.
Well, if you have the correct ability to delete a message, then you just delete it.
Well, it stands to reason that if you could delete the message, you could delete the message.
All right. Yeah. So and
hold on. There's
But the whole point being, of course, that the Outlook's message call feature would not likely be of any assistance in an instance like this. It doesn't work all that well anyway.
So there's an admin control that allows, and we're talking about the channel messages, not chats. Eric, I think you were about to mention that, the differences there. But the admin has the ability to go in and determine whether someone can delete messages or not. And that's set up with the creation of the team. And so if that is off, then the admin must delete it. By default, most team admins leave that on and allow people to delete their own messages. And so you just go into the ellipses and delete the message.
Buckley, love 15.
I have a racquetball racket. If I had it nearby, I'd just pull it. Eric, anything to add? Were you going to mention something about chats?
I just dropped a note into the chat about how to do that.
Use your words.
A chat on the chat.
Yeah.
I was basically, I had interrupted to say what Christian ended up saying, and I was going to say, and there's a blog post on this, not on my stuff, but here you go.
Shameless opportunity missed.
All right.
I'll be pushing that out to my blog, and you can use that.
Rebranding.
It will look near identical in content, but
Yeah. I just saw, that actually just was recently brought to my attention. I saw kind of a Twitter response of somebody pointing out to somebody else, an MVP, that somebody had pirated their content from their blog. You don't hear about that much anymore. But then they said, oh yeah, and Buckley's too. And, so apparently they grabbed a bunch of content from my site. I went and I looked, and it's like, I'm not going to spend an hour digging through their site to find out what they did or didn't use. And it's a big deal, but I don't think it pays for anybody to go and do that. But I don't know, has that ever happened to you guys?
Yeah. Although the person attempted to, it's kind of funny, it was wholesale ripped off my site, but at the very bottom of the article, this post originally by Sean McDonough. So it's like, this post originally, yeah, I wrote it. Duh.
Yeah.
Tool. I don't know that's happening any less. I just think we kind of just shrug our shoulders anymore. Copyright violations being what they are. You can go ahead. Like you said, it's oftentimes not worth the effort on your part and the loss of time to go try and run this stuff down and cease and desist and all of that. It'd be nice if we had our own lawyer teams.
Yeah.
I mean, like most things, it probably happens more often than we realize. The first thing you have to do in that situation is become aware of it.
Yeah.
In my case, a very well-known MVP took a bunch of my stuff, no reference, no credit, all verbatim content, and I let it go. If that individual feels that is going to advance their career, then I hope it did. What can I say?
Is the individual aware that you're aware?
I did not make that person aware, no.
Mm.
But that, when it comes down to it, that really shouldn't make a difference now, should it?
No, it shouldn't, but there is something to be said for community shaming.
We'll just leave that there. If you're watching and you know who you are,
You're gonna rot in hell,
I
buddy.
know, I know that you know.
Well, it used to be frustrating. I would write back when I was an evangelist and would write marketing copy for my company, and I would see verbatim like wording that was unique that stood out. Like we payed for the creation of the wording of for around some campaign, and we'd see that exact wording show up in direct competitor marketing, and you move on, you do other things, but I mean, pretty slimy thing to go and do.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have. You probably have various phrases and whatnot that are distinctive, or you would consider distinctive, or kind of a signature style of writing. And when you see that show up somewhere, it's like right away you go, "Wait a minute! I thought I was the only person in the world that said whatever."
Right.
Oftentimes it comes back.
Oh, there is. I did. I got the online harassment to do a plug for an event. I will
Yes, you
throw
did.
that in.
As did I.
So Dan Usher, he
Shameless tool.
threw some shade our way if we did not announce this. Now, there's a user group, so he's hosting on Thursday. If you're interested in a Project Cortex and SharePoint Syntex overview, it's being
Drop that
done.
in the chat.
Being presented by Ed Hild, who is what's his role there? He's an architect at the Microsoft Technology Center in Western Virginia, and specializing in collaboration. So, there's that meetup link there. And we'll put it in the blog post as well. But go take a look at that.
Syntex, right?
Yeah, Project Cortex and SharePoint Syntex with Ed Hild. So that's part of the Northern Virginia 365 and Azure user group. And definitely go take a look at that. There's, I have to say that there's a bunch of things coming up, because there's I don't even know what it's called anymore, the formerly the SharePoint conference that's happening the second week in December. There's so much that's happening online now on any of these topics. So it's. Did you guys see the blog post from Mark Rackley talking about not recording?
Yep.
And I'm having to agree with that. Yeah. So for those that don't know, so Mark Rackley wrote a blog post. Can one of you guys grab it and share the link, please? That'd be great. But so he made a great point. He said, look, with everything that's moved to online, but especially with all these these user group meetings, these SharePoint Saturdays and other community-based sessions where we used to in person show up. If you didn't show up, you missed it. But now it's like the default. People say, well, I missed that session. When's the recording going to be available? And most events are recording and pushing that stuff out there. Well, the problem is some people, there it is, duplicate. That's too much Mark. We need 50% less Rackley.
Sorry, can you point me to a blog post where I can delete my chat message that I've just written? Boom! Just did it.
Boom! Good job.
There you go.
So he's talking about this. He says, look, we're actually providing a disservice. One, to the speakers. Like when I go and I spend all that time, hours and hours and hours to put together. How much time does it take you, Eric, to put together a 1-hour presentation?
A lot.
A lot. Yeah.
I wouldn't even know. I mean, obviously depending on the content, the audience, a million different things.
Yeah. And so generally
somewhere between, I would say, reasonably 60 to 80 hours.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into these sessions, and for many of us, it's a marketing tool, if nothing else, if not the way that we actually earn money by doing trainings and classes at paid events and different things. So, but even at these free events, that we may do versions of a more in-depth technical session that we do. We do it for the community, but we don't want it just out there. We want to be able to go and give this presentation at multiple events. And the benefit to participating in an event in real time is that you have that interaction with the speaker and with other attendees. And you're asking questions, because that's another thing is I might have an hour presentation that I give on a topic, but I'll change that up based on audience questions. So it'll be more localized for that event. But now if there's a recording of it every place, then what's the need to go and present at every conference? So I've had a few where people have reached out. It's like, why have you not Teams related events? Why aren't you presenting at this thing? I was like, I got enough else going on. I just gave that presentation. The recording is out there. And so I almost feel like my thought in seeing Mark's blog post was, should go and put together an event where all I do is pull pre-recorded from other events. Talking about plagiarizing that blog content and doing a full day-long event where that's all that it is string it together.
A mashup.
Yeah, it's a mashup. There we go.
Well, if I can go, I mean, from the speaking perspective, I would say that we, I'll generalize, so please guys back me up here. I would say that you prepared, while the content might be the same, you prepared differently for a community-based event versus a paid event or a Microsoft event. I mean, Microsoft events, for those that don't know, when you're asked to speak at a Microsoft event, it's an 8 to 10 week cycle that you're in ahead of the event to work with Microsoft on your content. There have been times where there's community reviews. There are times when there's roundtables and back and forth.
Managers.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that happen in the background long before you see a stage. Your content has to be reviewed. Every image you use has to be licensed properly or changed. There's producers beforehand you have to meet with to go through your stuff. It's not like a community event where you say, oh, I can do this particular session. But personally, I've never spoken or presented the exact same session twice. Yes, the abstract may be the same, and yes, the title may be the same, but if you recorded them one for one, they are always different. And that's just based on knowledge of what's happening in the world and things that are going on and examples you can use or security events that have happened or specific stories that are good or client situations that can be referenced and used in front of the audience. There's a lot of things that happen, and they are never done the same way. So Mark's blog post was very well done, obviously, because he addressed all that.
Yep.
The makeup people, the snack folks, the beverage people. I mean,
2 hours on hair alone for Riz.
hair, definitely hair.
I mean, the hair is a different story, but I mean, somebody has to go and pull out all the red M&Ms from that huge jar that I asked for.
I know. And it takes time for the room to get to 69.4 degrees.
It does.
Yeah.
It doesn't just,
True.
you don't just flip the switch and then suddenly the temperature's at the acceptable level.
And to swap all the bulbs out with blue light bulbs. And yeah,
That's right.
It's an event.
Yep. Okay, question number 2.
Making great progress.
As we approach the 30-minute mark, let's get on to question.
And Hal's going, shut the hell up, you guys.
Time. No, never mind.
Yeah. So Mark asked, do you have a legit question there, or are you just nothing?
You're asking me? I can make something up.
No. So Mark asks, if I were to enable Whiteboard for an organization of around 6,000 users, but I want to restrict the number of users initially for testing, is the only way to achieve this through assigning individuals the license? I don't want to enable Whiteboard if it is going to allow all 6,000 users access straight away. Can anyone suggest the best way to test, please?
Sounds like you've got the best way. I posted a link in Microsoft Docs. You flip it on or off for your organization. You don't have the level of granular control to set it per user, but license assignment, whether or not somebody actually has access to a license and the capability at all, would be one way to meter it for your organization.
You know, what most people do for testing is that they don't test within their production environment. And so they'll have another tenant to test out solutions like that. That's another option. And so you can have 5 people that are part of your IT organization that are testing out different solutions, or just keep it very limited. So that's another way of doing that.
Todd Clint famously said, the question isn't whether or not you've got a test environment, it's whether you have a production environment. In the SharePoint context, but it pretty much works for all this.
Somebody just shared a picture over the weekend of their single server t-shirt that I did with the kittens. The kitten on it. Remember that one? It just reminded me of that scenario. Every time
send me an image.
Every time somebody does a single server install, God kills a kitten.
Yeah.
Always good.
Yeah.
I think Shane Young was the one who.
Yeah, I think I created that one for Todd and Shane for one of their SharePoint conference presentations. I showed up with like a box of 200 t-shirts to one of their workshops. So.
Oh man, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of t-shirts.
Yeah.
You guys are all plain today.
Mine's blue. It's very cold here.
I'll put in my plug for the Microsoft TEALS program. So those who aren't familiar with Microsoft TEALS, it's computer science volunteers. Hey, Hal's got his MVP jersey. So TEALS, and I will do a shameless plug, it's underprivileged and underserved schools, typically high schools, sometimes other schools, but you can volunteer for the program to teach in one of these schools. And I do this with a high school in the East Cleveland school district. I'm a volunteer in a computer science, intro to computer science class. So twice a week I'm teaching on Snap, which is for people who use Scratch, is similar. If you go back to my day, we had Logo, and it is pretty similar in that vein too. But it's a chance to give folks computer science knowledge and training who might otherwise not have it, and in many cases can make a difference to somebody being able to do something they want to do with their life. So I'll put the link in the chat window, and I'll stop talking about that because I know.
Cool. I'll grab it.
Shot.
We'll include it there.
I've got to hop back for 1 second, Jets. I'll be right back.
All right.
Is it something I said?
He wanted to exit right before the next question.
Okay.
He has nothing of value to add to that. Okay, let me grab that link. All right. Question 3. Richard asks about Teams live events. It seems that invitees can only join an event when a Microsoft email account or by joining anonymously. With Zoom, you can join without registration, just your name, etc. Why does Teams not offer this flexibility for joining with just your name? Or am I missing something? My charity would like to hold a public event with Teams, but want people to join with just a name so we can at least get an attendance list afterwards.
I think you have something to say about that, Buckley.
Oh, how?
Kind of puzzles me. That actually kind of puzzles me because we've Roland Shore and Tower has just set up a presentation that we're going to do for one of the Society Broadcast Engineers chapters, and I was all concerned about the fact that we didn't allow guest access, but in this instance, basically I just got an invitation sent to me and I could join that. I didn't need to be part of any organization. So I'm a little curious as to where he's coming from this. I didn't think it would work either, but it worked flawlessly.
Yeah, I don't know his exact scenario.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to track who is joining. I mean, look, I'll just keep it simple. I don't use live events at all because of the limits of the functionality. It just doesn't fit my needs. When I use webinars, it's I found it to be not a great experience, and I still, as you guys know, I still pay for Zoom for the webinar service. I'm not using it for regular meetings. I use Teams for just about everything else. But for webinars, everything is packaged and works the way that you want it to work in Zoom. But for this scenario, for when I've sent out Teams live events in the past, and I've used Exchange, I've used Outlook, and I add anybody I want and allow people to forward it, and then I get a response. I get any people that it's shared with that accept it, and I have that list of people who accepted that meeting to join. Now, what if you are looking for that list of names of people? Then you want to have a registration process, and whether it asks for their email or not. I mean, yeah, it would be great if it were just that simple. If I could just plug in my name and join, but usually that invite with your name is still associated with an email address because it got sent to you somehow. So I know that every time I go in Zoom and add a person in, it asks for their name and their email. It may only ask them to confirm their name in the UI, but the email's in the system.
That link I just posted is how to get an attendee list from the Teams live meeting.
Right, but that if it's kind of my point. It's you can now get that list, but is it asking for name and email for more of a registration? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, you can send it to anybody via Outlook. That's the way around that. Anything else to add, Sean?
No, sir.
All right, let's jump to question number 4. Stacy asks, can anyone... Oh, it's a part... There's 2 questions here. So Stacy asks, can anyone help with planner questions? So the first one, I still see deleted plans in my Teams drop-down. So inside Teams. Oh, hey, there's Neil. Hey,
Good
Neil.
morning, Neil.
Good morning.
What up,
folks.
Neil?
How are you?
We were just getting started with question number 4 from Stacy. So part 1. So she says, I
Just in
still
time.
see deleted plans in my Teams drop-down. How do I get rid of them? When I click on them, it says it's deleted, but it still shows on the sidebar. And then we'll ask after we talk about this one, we'll go back to question 2. So with the planner, so inside of Teams, planner app, plans that have been deleted are still showing within the Teams dropdown.
I got nothing. I don't use it.
I haven't played with Planner yet either in Teams, so I'm no help.
Yeah. My only thought here is that is there a remnant that's elsewhere? Is it a SharePoint thing? Is it still exist because of if it's been deleted? Is there still something that's sitting for like 30 days inside of SharePoint before it's truly
being
deleted?
cached.
Yeah, is it cached somewhere?
Try closing Teams, really closing Teams, quitting it, not minimizing, and load it back up. Or flush browser cache to some extent. Well, that's just a suggestion. I have no idea. I got goose egg here.
All right. I'll look into this one. I'll put it as a homework for me.
Homework for Christian.
All right. I'll see what I can find on that one. Yeah, because I just don't know. Haven't tried deleting one in that scenario, so I can try that out. Second part of her question says, what is the proper organizational philosophy? Is a team the entire team, like our entire staff? Then a channel is the project type, like events? How do I create sub-channels that would be all of our events? So first, I don't think there is one way of using it. That since day one with Teams, there was this argument like, do you have, like here's an example for my company. So I have a customer engagement team, and then I have a channel for each customer, and I have that as a shared resource. So when I have my part-time employees, they have access, and so they're able to see across all the different channels. However, when I started, this is prior to your being able to have external users. It was more painful in the beginning, but I would set up a separate team for each customer, which is now more of the common way of doing this, and then projects for that customer, or as different channels within that. There are not sub channels, but there are private channels which are kind of detached from the other structure, which you can go in and add a select group or everyone into, an internal and external people that you could use for events. But otherwise, most people have channels set up as the project type. So they might have your HR channel and marketing team channel and sales team channel, and then they might have an event channel or conferences channel or whatever. So part of the problem that one of the things that people complain about is they're starting to understand that, hey, there could be hundreds of channels. It's like, right, well, then you might start thinking about where does it make sense to have other teams and not have everything within the default team. But it's intentionally meant to be up to you to figure out what is the best way to work for your organization to do that. Like, does HR need its own team, or is HR a team within the company, or a channel within the company team? So, for my own tenant, I mean, I have a marketing team, I have my sales or customer team, and so I've broken it up that way. Because you don't need people that are in engineering may not need to have access to anything marketing. There might be a marketing announcements channel which you then invite everybody in the company into, but they can only see that channel. So it really is infinitely flexible in how you want to go and set that up. Yeah. Anything to add to that?
I was just going to say that in the Facebook live stream, Jay Leask posted a link to something about 2 years ago about having deleted recent plans, not actually deleting the plan may or not be relevant to the case, and he posted a link. So thank you for that, Jay. I will repost this in the chat and therefore give Christian access to it.
I see it. I have the link. Thanks, Jay. Wow, that's an ugly link. Though just copying and pasting that.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Ugly baby.
Yeah, that is like the ugly of ugly. Good times. Yeah. So anyway, it's on that second part of Stacy of your question. I mean, there's no one way to do it. If you ask anybody, for best practices, you're gonna get 10 people. If you ask 10 people for best practices, you get 10 answers.
Yeah.
So, there are certainly examples that are out there and how to go and structure that. There's some guidance in some of the adoption.microsoft resources. But this is something that you need to, it's like thinking up, you're coming up with the navigation with the outline of your portal. And you have to think about, how are people using this? What's the correct logical structure? What's going to make the most sense for people to navigate and find the information that they need, rather than just doing things on the fly. So map it out. Hey, there's a use for Visio, or just a whiteboard in the office.
Mind mapper.
Mind mapper.
It's your information architecture.
Yep.
An aspect.
All right. Let's see. Question number 5. Kara says, all looking for help with the Teams meeting recording, showing up in the meeting chat at the end of the meeting. This is just occurring now. Before, the host of the meeting would receive an email with a link to the recording and stream. How do we disable the recording from showing in the team chat?
You can't.
It's the only place I've ever seen it.
Yeah. Posted a link. Somebody asked same question. Cannot deactivate it. If the user has no stream license, the video stored for 30 days, another location, blah, blah, blah. I think the best option is that the recording starter, hopefully, in this case, it's an education example, but hopefully the teacher goes to stream as soon as the meeting is ended and edit the permission. The recording starter is the owner, and he or she can remove all other permissions, review the video, and when it is done, reassign permissions. And there's Mr. Riz back.
Missed you all.
Welcome back. And we have the faceless Neil in the audience. But he
Mr. New Hampshire.
He is he's got his cloaking device on.
Okay.
There he is.
It's good to see your
I'm wearing
ugly
my
mug.
fancy t-shirt as well.
All right.
There you go.
Outstanding.
That is fancy.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, and how was the trip? I noticed that we didn't get together when you were in my state.
This is true. We didn't. And there was, well, I meant to reach out to you. You know, we were down in St. George. We drove back up to Salt Lake, and Amy's family had arranged a kind of a gathering dinner thing. So it just one of those things we just didn't get to happen, unfortunately.
No worries.
Sorry, Christian.
No worries.
But since we'll be going back fairly regularly, I'm sure we'll get to meet them there, if not at a conference somewhere eventually.
Well, not to make you feel don't feel guilt or anything, because I would have had to have declined. My youngest, who lives with me, tested positive for COVID. So,
Oh no.
So we've been locked down here. He's at the end of it now, and I never felt sick, got sick, but I went and got tested. So I'm still waiting for the result. I got tested on Friday.
I'm still waiting. It took 2 hours for me to get my test result back.
It's for the STD test, Neil.
Oh, okay, that one. All right.
Yeah, I got the real test, the one that takes a little bit longer to get the more accurate results. It gets, just slightly higher than 50% accuracy.
Yeah, I had the way they jab this thing right into the back of your head, almost like your nasal passage. It hurts. In my eyes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's not fun.
That's what they said. Is that if it's the one that hurts, then that's the accurate test.
Yeah, well, they give me both. They give me the short one, like just inside the nasal passage here.
Yeah.
And then I was explaining to the guy, I said, well, we will be careful. We're going to meeting Amy's dad, and he's older. He's got the COPD and got some health issues. So they're like, all right, then we want to make sure double check you. So they said, we're going to use this one, and they pulled out this other thing. It's like 8-inch long Q-tip, and just went.
Did I just see something in the news? Did I just see something in the news about some famous person got a test and tested positive in one nostril and negative in the other?
That's funny. I haven't heard that one, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so you could have had me on a guilt trip there, Christian, for not turning up.
Well, I didn't want to add to your trip. All right. Question number 6. Timothy says, I'm looking for support with creating a to-do list workflow with approvals by a manager. I want this to be generated by a starting date. For example, there's a date in the future that is the starting points, and it generates a list of tasks or steps working back from the date. Some of those steps I want to approve as being completed when a team member marks them as done. These tasks happen regularly, new dates and names, same timeline and sequence of events. Is Power Automate something that could work? Any suggestions or links where I should look? So essentially, I've heard this over the years. People want to say that essentially some action triggers the creation of automatic creation of tasks. Bless you. And
Yes.
Thank you all.
and so is anybody. So I'm not aware of anywhere the ability to go and do this. Anybody see this? Come across this scenario?
So you're telling me it's like a
So they want
almost like an if this then that type scenario, right?
yes,
Just along those lines.
Yep. And that's probably a way to go and do that. But to do that, to generate that within To-Do, Planner, Project, any of the Microsoft solutions.
I would start with Power Automate. If you've got premium connectors, you can make calls to web services, whatever you want. All that stuff's exposed on Graph. Granted, you might need a little bit of developer help, but... Or am I missing something here?
No, I don't think that there's anything that's configurable out of the box. I think you're right. It will take development effort to go and to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the process, it sounds like, is what he's illustrated is pretty specific to him. Everybody's got some variation and flavor of these sorts of processes, but the specifics are his.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that Power Automate is where I would start, and specific steps or things for which connectors or actions are not available. Get some development help.
Yeah, just in general, get some development help. Yeah, that's. I mean, there's a lot of complexity underneath what he's asking for. To do, I don't think is so. You would be writing to would be either Planner or Project. To do would be, if it's in Planner, it would show up by default. So you wouldn't create them in To Do. The difficult part would be in that automation, it would be the automatic assigning to a person. So if you have a task that you create, if it's in a specific channel or team or on a specific board and Planner, whether you can assign all of those to hard code a person's name for that role. I mean, it'd be really difficult to do that aspect. I mean, where I've seen the automatic generation of work breakdown structure, the PM, the project manager, still had to go in and then assign those tasks to individuals. So there wasn't a way to automate that aspect of it. So I'm not saying this can't be done. I've just never seen somebody do it.
To-Do actually has an exposed API, REST API. And I included the link in there, so there's a lot more exposed on Graph than you might think.
No, it's not that it's not possible. I don't know what the utility of doing that is if you're trying to build it around a project plan. Maybe that's not the case. If you just wanted as tasks assigned to an individual, irrespective of a project plan, then sure.
Yeah, I wasn't reading the planner part into this. It just sounds like he wants, for instance, onboarding. You want a series of steps that are completed by the time the person is joining the company. Once you know their start date, you can work backwards from there. That's just how I read it.
Yeah. No, I think that's probably valid. I jumped to the project plan, project management perspective. But yeah, see, that makes sense. Yeah, it'd be great to have that as part of an onboarding process. And as somebody goes and starts, you plug that in and it automatically populates a list of things to go and to do. You could do that. Think of that with training. If I go and start in a self-paced but online internal training or certification program, and based on the day that I start, and then it goes and here's all the to-dos. You've got 7 days to complete part 1, and if I complete that, as soon as I complete that, then it triggers the next set of steps. Yeah, I get that.
The other way to do this sort of stuff, and what was made to actually do this kind of stuff, is anyone who has not heard of System Center Orchestrator. It's kind of like biz talk for business type process stuff. And one of the classic examples they have is when you get a new employee, of setting up all the tasks, accounts, things like that, which I suspect is probably one of the outcomes of this action if we're talking about potentially setting up new people and things like that. System Center Orchestrator is designed for that. If you run System Center on-prem and want to expand your capabilities, you get to draw boxes and wire them up to processes. And
well, why didn't you say that right up front? I mean, wow.
Thought we were cloud focused.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump to question number 7. So this is from questions from the Office 365 community group out on Facebook. And Danny asks, hi, everyone. I've got one computer which keeps asking credentials in Outlook, but without showing a prompt. After disabling modern authentication, Outlook notified that there was an issue with the Outlook.com certificate, which was being revoked. Got this problem only on one computer and was not able to find any good cause and solutions on the internet. Anybody got any ideas?
I have this happen very frequently. And my guess is there are people who hazard various guesses about what it is. Oftentimes, my primary account you'll get the little needs password from Outlook in the lower right-hand corner for an account. You click needs password. Most of the time, it'll pop up the authentication dialog. But in this case, you'll see it flash up there, disappear, and you're never prompted for it. All sorts of different recommendations around it. I'll post.
They had a bug recently too.
Yeah, this actually, in my case, it goes way back. What I've kind of determined, I'm one person who has an Office 365 account under an email address, and it's used for Office 365 stuff, but that is also a Microsoft consumer account. I'm one of those people that has the same email address. Outlook will get boggled sometimes. And what I've found, at least this happened to me and I resolved it this weekend, I was just getting ready to wipe my Outlook profile and try and set it up again. I've wiped local credentials and things. I changed the password on my account. That didn't automatically do anything, but when I got prompted to log in again for OneDrive, at that point, I suddenly start getting access to Office 365 again. Exchange, that is. So, people, like I said, there are lots of different... What are you looking at, Christian?
I'm looking at the 2 Muppets.
Oh.
What I had came up with, that it was just a couple of 3-4 weeks ago. This is on the Insider Fast channel. I had an occasion where, basically I've got 4 accounts defined in Outlook. 2 of them are, one's an E3, one's an E5, 2 are Outlook.com accounts. And I noticed that when I would start up Outlook, if I went into an Office account, both of the Outlook.com accounts would show they needed to be logged in. And you'd hit the Fix Me button and nothing would happen. It would just stay there. The way that I was able to get rid of it was to hit the Add Account button, add both of these accounts one at a time, even though they already existed, and it was happy. That, it turned out, was a bug. There was the way that they were doing their querying upon login, it wound up attempting to log in twice. And they just recently fixed that as of, oh gosh, what version is it that I have here now? Let's see, build 13510.20004, version 2012. So if you're on Insider Fast, you may need to do an update.
Yeah. So these types of errors, as you've undoubtedly found, Danny, there are lots of different things that people say to try. I really wish we could call it one single source or point you to something definitive, but in my experience, and I've done a lot of searching on this, as I'm sure you have, Hal, whenever these problems come up,
Yep.
I seldom find anything that is like my specific circumstance.
Definitive, right? Yeah.
So I would try anything you find. If you're looking for additional suggestions, email officehours@collab.com.
Club Talk.
I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Collabtalk.com. I'd be happy to, share additional tips, or if you can tell me what you're seeing. I'm sure Hal would have some
Absolutely.
input. So feel free to send us an email, and we'll see if we can get you running again without having to completely wipe the profile and every single token on your system.
Yeah, that's always painful. Having had to do that more than once.
Yeah. But I'm like you, Hal. I mean, I've got 4 Office 365 accounts with various plans, and I've got one POP account that I wire in. So I've never had an issue with the POP account, but it's been the low tech way, right?
Yeah, well, no, the last that sort of account I had was with Yahoo, and Yahoo used to have the same thing that Google, I believe, still has, which is allow less secure apps, i.e. Outlook, to work with the email. Yahoo eliminated that, so that anybody who has been using their regular standard Yahoo password with their email and Outlook is now finding out that it doesn't connect. And basically, it's simple. You have to go to Yahoo under their advanced account security settings and generate an app password. And there's just a nice little section that does that. Drop the app password in and place it for your regular, and it goes back to town again. I just got through doing it yesterday.
MFA is great until it isn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's good and bad to that. I have to admit, like, for example, we had a month or so back, and I forget which online event it was, but somebody whipped up a different Teams tenant. And part of registering for that is you had to set up the Authenticator app, which I did, and everything was fine, except in the meanwhile, I had an issue with the phone that caused me to have to reset the Authenticator app. And then you have a problem where the Authenticator app wants to log in, but it won't, you have to reset the Authenticator app to use it, but you don't have another method for it to get a hold of you with, like a phone number or an email address or all the good stuff that you're supposed to set when you go in and do that. And so I actually had to get a hold of the team administrators, and they had to wipe out the cache and basically start me from scratch. So this time when I filled out the Authenticator app, while it was there, I also added the requisite phone number, email address, and a few other things so that I don't get locked out again. That's an issue.
And that's assuming you get to the point where you can actually use the right authenticator app. Because I don't know about you guys, I've got about a dozen different authenticator apps on my phone, and I was logging into an account and I had to ask, I was actually resetting an account and I had to ask the support guy, which authenticator app do you guys use? And they had to tell me, and I had to go to that one and find the right entry. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, occasionally I have to use two. The Roland Shore and Tower uses Duo. And then that is what gets me access to anything Roland Shore and Tower. Now, if I want to go into the Microsoft Team guests on it, then they want to use Authenticator. So first I have to authenticate with the first one, Duo, and then I have to authenticate with the Microsoft Authenticator app. So it's a double authentication, and it's entertaining.
LastPass has a nice authenticator app that kind of rolls up various other authenticator apps. So like if you're trying to use the Google app or auth.y, several of those different apps, you can use the LastPass. I don't know if you guys can see that or not.
No.
Yeah.
But it'll read the barcodes, and it uses the same algorithm, the same random number sequencing, etc. So.
The other lesson learned about all of this is when it is asking you for a secondary or the backup, like fill out the entire profile when you're registering for any of these things so that you have that default.
Definitely the mobile phone and email, of course, but yeah, that mobile phone. In fact, I had a new account created over the weekend for me. Support dude put his mobile phone in. So he and I were talking yesterday as he was relaying me 6-digit codes. It sort of prompted him to go back and make that change so he wouldn't have to be my personal valet.
Yeah.
Sean, did he say the code is 1, 2, 3? No? Anyone?
I've never seen an authenticator generate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if I do see it, I'm going to screenshot that bad boy because
Buckley was with me on that one.
Mr. Laughing, yeah.
Okay, I missed it, obviously.
I'm a little disappointed, Sean. I thought you'd get that, but that's okay. I'm glad Christian did. It makes it all worthwhile.
As long as somebody understands you, Eric. That's all that counts.
I don't claim that.
It is what it is.
And under the bus.
Question number 8. Is it pronouncing this name? Macy Masiage.
Okay.
I want to create a travel request on Microsoft Lists and Power Automate approval. Is it possible to make one list where all employees will place their travel requests items, but they will not see items of other employees? Whole list should only be visible to the accountant, to the owner. So Microsoft Lists, I've not gone in and, can you do that? We've actually seen a variation of this question about limiting visibility to only those items that you own.
Yeah, that was I think you were the one mentioning that, Eric. It's default behavior on new items. Whether it's it was edit behavior. Can you edit other people's items or only your own by default, I believe? But the bottom line is, SharePoint definitely supports this. You can do per item permissions. The ease of doing that with Power Automate, Power Automate, we're still working out, I want to say, the kinks, getting proper an authentication, or rather Power Automate app context versus, somebody having to drop their user ID in to run it under their ID. But I don't know if Power Automate is to the point where we can, somebody help me out here, if it can truly impersonate someone or use a different ID in a permission assignment.
Well, I don't think that it's the creation of the list item for the Power Automate. So the question is that whether a list item can be visible only to the person, to the list owner and the person creating the list item. That's the first question. Once it's in the list, then it sounds like they want to automate with Power Automate the approval of each of those items.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I thought Power Automate was creating the item.
No.
My
So
mistake.
if people are putting in travel requests, you only want to see your requests. I mean, you've got the view capability, so you can create a custom view for that list where you'd only see your items.
Yeah, but that's security by obscurity.
Right.
It feels like there should be a way to do this, but I cannot definitively say that off the top of my head. Why don't we ask our MCM?
No, I'm with you, Sean. I don't know of a way to allow Power Automate to run under like a specific context. But yeah, of course, SharePoint does have those options to, show only my items or show me items I create, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But from the Power Automate perspective, I'm not sure.
Well, so the first part of the question is really the salient point. So is that ability, because it exists in SharePoint, then I would assume that it's possible within lists to be able to limit your visibility to only those that are yours.
Yep, absolutely 100% possible.
Right.
And that's just a setting at the list level.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going into one of my tenants to see if I can ferret that out. So if we move on, I'll see if I can.
Okay. We can always jump back to that. Yep.
I think it's under advanced, Sean. One of the advanced options.
Yeah.
You can always have that for homework too, Sean. Don't feel pressured.
You can always respond.
I don't want homework, Riz.
You can do that in class homework. Do you ever do that where there's an assignment halfway through the class, you're sitting there and you're like, I'm just going to go do it now. It's like, just answer these 3 questions. Or I already did it. Can I turn that in? I've done that before.
I did that so that I could then use the rest of the period to sleep.
Right.
Yes.
Number 9, Kevin says, good evening, everyone. Wow. Kevin, you're way off. It's morning. Wow. No. Quick question regarding Teams, posts, and comments. Has anyone found a way to delete comments made on a post in a team? Oh, that's the same question. It's a different person asking the same. So I could delete the post. However, the comments. The comments on a post. So I can delete the post. However, the comments remain. The post is been made by a colleague, and in case it matters, I have admin rights. Any suggestions? So you're commenting. Your comment is somebody else's post. So if the permissions are such that only the person who makes the comments can delete the comments, doesn't matter if they're in response to your comment.
So if a tree falls in the forest.
That's a Monty Python routine, isn't it? Only if they bring a shrubbery.
Who's on first?
Yeah, so in Teams, you have the ability to go in there and to, when you set it up, and to allow the admin to delete any and all messages. But you have the ability to allow individuals to delete or not delete their own messages. So you could create a team. And if I went in there and commented, I as the person who commented, would not have the ability to delete my own message, and would have to go to the admin to delete that. So if I have the ability to delete my messages, just because if I've had 3 people respond to my comment with their own comments, they're still in there as their comments. I can't delete their comments, even if they are in response to mine. So the admin would need to go in there and delete those. Now, he's saying that he's also an admin. And so what I'm not clear on is, are you the admin who's the original, the team owner? I don't know if there's any difference between the permissions of an admin and the primary admin, the creator of the team, and somebody who's given admin rights. I don't know how that handles, if there's any difference between those admin rights. I'd have to go in and look. Any other thoughts on that? I'm actually going to go into an area where somebody responded. Do this in a live environment here.
It's a great question. Hope everyone's listening and taking notes. We'll be on the final.
I'm just intrigued by the little character on Sean's whiteboard. It's like he's wielding a big mallet trying to hit something. I can't see what it is.
That's yes. I have one of the. You can see probably a little further to the right, all sorts of different words. It's one of those magnetic word kits. and my daughter made the phrase, "She played violent jams," and so that is her character playing violent grape jam, berry jam, etc.
Okay.
My daughter's creative, unlike her father. So, quick rewind. I'm not seeing any setting. There's a setting that allows you to control behavior for items that haven't been checked in yet. But in terms of seeing and editing your own stuff and other people's stuff, there's not that level of control that I'm seeing anyway. But I want to believe. I know that you can do it by manually setting permissions, but
All right. So I just found the answer here. So yeah, so I went in and was not able to on my tenant. So I was not able to delete on there. So right now, the admin has the ability to allow people to delete or not delete their own messages when they're establishing a team. So there is that control. However, if it's enabled, the admin does not have the ability to delete any comments. Only the owner of that. So there is a user voice item for Teams user voice that to let me and the team owner delete messages. So here's the link there. So I would say vote it up.
Yeah.
vote it up, vote it up.
Chance, I've got to do some meeting prep here, so I got to love you and leave you. But wonderful to be with you all. Have a great week.
We're not cheap sluts, Eric.
It feels so dirty. Yeah.
Wow. Can't wait to search for that on the recording after.
Good luck with the meeting.
Someone's going to win a quarter for that pickup. I'm not even going to say it again, so you can't win 50 cents. Take care, boys.
All right, see you later.
Take care.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks for stopping by.
All right, question number 10. Yeah, so Kevin, the answer is you can't. All right, number 10. Alki asks, I'm facing the following issue with OneDrive configuration by using admin templates. Silently sign in users to the OneDrive sync client with their Windows credentials. The computer is AAD join, no AutoPilot. Is AutoPilot needed to make the setting work? Silently sign in users to the OneDrive sync client with their Windows credentials. I'm not familiar with this scenario.
That's been an option for a while. I don't think AutoPilot's required for that. It would work with AutoPilot as a complementary technology, but I don't think it's actually a requirement. You can do, what's it called? I forget the exact terminology. It's OneDrive. It's kind of along the lines of silent sign-in, that kind of thing. Kind of background sign-in. Definitely there.
All right, so you don't need AutoPilot. It's just a feature, out-of-the-box feature.
That's my understanding, yeah. AutoPilot is, AutoPilot's used for the whole Windows enrollment, deployment, complementary with Intune for apps and rollout and all that kind of thing. But OneDrive is as a standalone should be able to work and do that functionality. You just do a little bit of digging.
Okay. Another question from Alki. Facing strange behavior in my org. In a meeting with some attendees, after the meeting completes, the video is available on stream for all attendees. The behavior is the following. Attendees who have assisted to the meeting are able to access the video. Attendees who didn't participate are not able to access it. Is there something we can configure to allow every attendee invited to a meeting to access the recorded video meeting, even if they didn't participate? That's so people that I'm not sure of the assisted to the meeting, what that actually means. People that are, so we're talking about attendees, so all people that showed up. That's generally how you define an attendee. And assisted, meaning people that co-presented or
Commented.
Yeah, like that were active within that, not just passively watching.
I'm thinking perhaps there's a one-time permissions assignment that happens in order to, I don't know if it's on demand. That's the only situation that this would make sense. But if somebody comments or does something that results in a post, that might flip a switch. Well, I'm just hypothesizing here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my other thought here is that attendees. Is he really talking about registrants? So people that actually attended it, versus those that were invited to it, not getting access to it, because that would make more sense.
Yeah, and I have seen scenarios, and I don't know if this is the same scenario where I wanted to go back into the meeting chat, right? Because typically if a meeting's recorded, the link to the recording appears in the chat window.
Right.
I've had scenarios where I've tried to go back to find the recording, and it says, oh, you can't see the chat window until you join this meeting. So I actually had to start the meeting again to get into the chat. And then next thing I know, all these people are joining it. And I'm like, well, it's like because people get notified, right? As soon as someone starts the meeting.
Yeah, it started again.
It's nuts. So, because sometimes it could be several days later.
Right.
I want to go back and look at the recording.
I'll get those notifications all the time, and I'm especially out in the Microsoft Community tenant. I'll get those notifications because I have my RAM box set up and my phone, everything, and I'll see that somebody will go back in and participate in the chat. But it operates the same way. What'll happen is it'll start again because that chat is still live. It's in everybody's history that participated in it. So they'll see it pop up new and like, oh, hey, it started. There's something going on. And they'll go jump into that.
That happens all the time.
Which is not the question Alki's asking, but,
But it could be related, though, if you think about it, because if you can't see it because you didn't actually join the meeting. So joining the meeting may, unfortunately restarts the meeting, but that would then give you access to the chat, which should be where the recording is.
Then you have the common problem if people that weren't an active participant, and if they didn't join that meeting and don't have that access to that on-demand portion, you then have to move the file and put it in a place where you could share it out. By saving the destination of your recordings to SharePoint rather than inside of Stream, that makes it easier then to share that out with people in your organization than Stream was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still, people still want to have like a through the UI published to some publicly accessible, location option. And you can certainly do that with SharePoint. You can set it up and have your recording go to a place where then you can create a link to that video that anybody can view and consume. And you can share that out via Twitter if you want. Let's see. Question number 12. Animal says, quick question. Do all Office 365 plans contain basic MFA functions, or do we need to buy an additional license for enable the MFA on the user's AC?
Access control.
Yeah.
MFA, basic MFA, I just threw a link in the chat window. Basic MFA is a part of all Microsoft 365 and Azure AD subscriptions. And that link goes through the various feature charts and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got MFA available to do an Outlook.com account too. So.
Yeah. If you think about it, it makes sense for Microsoft.
Yep.
Yeah. Since you mentioned MFA, I did put a chat window in there. I put a chat link in there about the OneDrive silent configuration.
Okay.
Just above yours, Sean.
Yeah.
That does not work with MFA though. Just so you know. Since you mentioned MFA.
Yeah, I know Microsoft MFA works for a lot more things now, but they're still trying to get the nooks and crannies of various services. I know for a long time you couldn't administer a tenant with PowerShell in MFA. If you had MFA enabled on your account, you would have to create a separate administrator account that didn't have MFA to sign in to run PowerShell. That's not the case anymore. And it was ridiculous. I'm like, I actually called support about this. I'm like, you're telling me I have to create a separate account or turn off MFA on my admin, my account? And they're like, yeah, you don't have to assign a license, but you need to have an account without MFA. But they've updated all the sign-in assistants and everything now to be ADAL compliant in MFA. So.
Let's see. Question 13. Last week, an email was sent to 2 Microsoft 365 Exchange users at a customer site. One of the users never received the email. I checked mail trace for the sender's email address and only has the email being delivered to one user. I have the email that was sent to that user, and it has the email address for both users on it. One was to, which wasn't received. Another was CC'd, which was received. The email address is correct. When opening the email in Outlook, it correctly shows their online presence. Has anyone ever seen this before? I'm thinking one to escalate to Microsoft support, but thought I'd check here first.
Before you do that, look to see if there were any Exchange events or notifications, Exchange events or degraded service during that time period in your admin console, or get your admin to do that. Because if you ran a mail trace and it didn't go, but it was clearly on the line, it should have gone. And so my thinking is maybe Exchange was running in a degraded state, but that's the sort of thing I would talk to support about if you have no other explanation. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a good thing to check before opening a ticket, because they're just going to go and they're going to look at that first, and support will do that too, and they'll look and they'll see in the most obvious scenario and be like, hey, that's what we think it was. And then you've just lost 2 hours of your life sitting and waiting for somebody to answer a phone call.
And are you saying the mail trace showed that it did get sent?
No, the mail trace saying
It did not.
That it did not.
only delivered to one user. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The person who was CC'd.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. All right, number 14. Dinakar says, we have a strange situation here, and I'd be grateful if someone could help. We're trying to whitelist domains on Azure AD. We've been doing this for quite some time. We aren't able to add any additional domains now. The reason is that AAD only allows 25,000 characters in the whole set of domains. I'm aware that we can play around with the policies and disable them to allow users globally, regardless of which domain they're on. I want to have the policy on as we don't want to compromise on security. Any ideas?
So they've exceeded the 25,000 character domain limit. That's a lot of domains. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming there's some kind of CSP, hosting provider, something along those lines. That's why they've got so many domains in there. They might just need to create a new tenant.
Yeah, that's like at least, in all likelihood, 1,000 plus domains, assuming maximum length. Good lord. Yeah, what Neil said.
That's a lot. I mean, I can see a valid use case from a hosting scenario. I mean, potentially, I can see that. I don't know if that limit is something that can be increased with a support ticket, maybe. That's worth an investigation and asking the question.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about realistic use cases for this. Maybe they're trying to do restrictions by subdomain. Do they? Does that list allow wildcards?
I do not know. I would be my gut feeling says it wouldn't, because that in itself could introduce a security risk.
Yeah. I don't know about this one. I don't know about that.
I think it's probably worth at least a discussion with support, because there's lots of things at Microsoft where we have scenarios where you can get things increased by raising a ticket, like that. What's the classic one with cloud service application, increase your numbers above 20 million, right? You just raise a ticket, they can do it. Maybe there's another reason why that they limit it this way, but I think that's support should at least be able to have that conversation.
Okay. We're now in.
And just sorry,
go ahead.
I'm just going to add one more thing to that. Interestingly enough, I mean, they talk about whitelisting. Are they also trying to block certain domains as well? Because there's both those scenarios there. So just a thought.
Yep. Let's see. So these are, now we're jumping over to questions coming out of the Microsoft Tech community. So from the unanswered questions list. Did you guys have a chance to take a look at these? We've just got a few more minutes, so we're all going to be able to get to some of these. But
you see, I didn't get a chance. Sorry.
So I guess we'll start with, I'll ask number 15. Nilesh says, this is a cross workbook references. I'm working on a workbook with multiple worksheets. So an Excel question. The worksheets have equations that pull data from other worksheets within the workbook. I want to copy a block of equations from one worksheet within the workbook to another workbook. But when I do so, I can't get rid of the reference to the source workbook. So that shouldn't be the case. There are, when you hit paste, you right click in that new cell, then you should have one of the options is to paste the equations only and should not carry with it the workbook reference. So there are multiple ways to paste, but you right click. I don't have Excel open to look at the different options, but
paste special.
Yeah,
you can do like a paste special. You can do like just formatting, just equations, just numbers, just values.
Yep.
There's a number of features in there. It's part of the pop-up window.
Yeah. So it's essentially that you just want to paste the values of that cell over, and that'll do that without a reference to the workbook.
Yeah. In other words, right-click and select your paste type rather than just putting your cursor in the cell and hitting Control D.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Any from the remainder? Any questions you guys want to tackle?
I'm trying to find the questions, Christian, so I can't find your email. I know you sent them out to us, I just can't see it right now.
Oh, that's all right. We got 5 more minutes. We'll just go do as many as we can. Shirley, number 16, asks, not allowing people to choose certain responses on forums. I was hoping to create a survey where people have the option to make a choice on who they want to vote for. We don't want individuals voting for themselves. Is there an option on how we can make their names unavailable to them to vote for?
Not that I know of right offhand. Although I'm sure there's a way.
What did you say was a form?
Yeah, so Microsoft Forms. Yep.
I've only really used forms for simple surveys. I've never really used it for anything that needed any kind of custom logic in there.
Yeah, if you're allowing for a field, forms could do some cool things. I don't know that it's that advanced to recognize as you're entering into a field of text, that it would recognize who you are recognize you're typing your name in and then not allow you to add that in? I mean, the way that you restrict it.
Well, there's another thing there as well. What if there's two people in the company with the same name?
Right.
But I'm not voting for me, I'm voting for the other person.
But yeah, so the way you
It's
can,
a valid scenario.
the way
Those
you can,
Neils stick together.
the way that you can, I know, it's the voting block, the Neil voting block. We know how they're going to vote. Yeah.
The power block.
Yeah.
Hey, I demand a recount.
No, but the way that you guarantee that they don't vote for themselves is don't give them the option. So you make it the radio or the checkbox of, approved names of people. If you're talking about having like a drop down where you have 10 people on your team and you don't want them to vote for themselves, what you do is you put a little note in the bottom that says you cannot vote for yourself. I don't know how you automate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a governance thing. I guess it's kind of an education thing. Just, if you vote for yourself, your vote is null and void.
Yeah.
That's kind of scenario.
It's an anonymous.
Yeah, I just don't.
Yeah, okay.
Forms is,
So if it's anonymous, you've got a problem.
yeah. Well, because then it wouldn't be anonymous anyway. There'd be some tracing for it to have the logic to be able to recognize that it's you and not allow you to vote for yourself. It's not anonymous.
Yep.
How would it know? You claim to be Neil. All right, number 17. Tran asks a question about Skype for Business group chat limitation. Is there a limitation for members in a group chat in Skype for Business? As in Skype, the maximum is 600 and our community is growing, so we would need a solution. Is there any way using Skype for Business, or anyone have a suggestion?
Go to Teams.
Yeah.
What are you doing on Skype for Business?
Well, that's
Sad but true.
the other answer.
Yeah, any effort spent trying to solve the problem with Skype for Business is a solution that has a very limited shelf life.
What's the current limit on number of people within a team? Was it like, did they just add it? Is it, I don't know, what is it today? Is it up to like 50,000?
It's high, definitely higher than 600.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's where Microsoft wants people to move. So move things over to Teams. Now you still have the folks that are just doing the chat, so you still have the free Teams for the chat capability, such as that Skype-like capability. So that's the solution. Number 18, system engineer. So it's a personalized question.
That'd be system engineer 1932.
Yeah. Would it be possible to export the result of the Get-InboxRule command and then import it into another shared mailbox?
I don't know if those. First of all, I don't know what if it just provides serialized information on read-only properties, or if that's a read-write. So there's Get-InboxRule. There must be a
Set inbox rule.
That's what would be needed.
That'd be a quick Google.
Yeah,
Or Bing.
Bing.
Bing, bada bing. So you banged it.
We were bunged. Yeah, there's no good way.
Let's just let that one go.
Yeah.
I know you can set.
There is a set inbox rule.
Yeah, it has a ton of properties.
Million. Jeez. If that looks like it has all the options. I guess the question you have to do is they're going to have to parse out what comes from the get inbox rule, which needs to be applied by a set inbox. Get inbox is an interesting one as well, has a number of different options.
Let's see. Include hidden description. I'm looking.
What's the sweep rules? What does that mean?
Well, I have we're out of time, guys. I've got the link to the docs around the set inbox rule. So I've got that link.
Yeah, so it looks like it's conceptually possible. It's just whether or not the output from the get inbox rule can be passed directly to set inbox. If not, he can read the various properties and pass those in.
A little bit of string manipulation.
Yeah. So probably, at the very least with a little bit of processing, but conceptually, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, get inbox rule, mailbox, username, example number 1 in the get inbox rule documentation. So it doesn't give an output what it looks like, but it looks like it's going to be there for sure.
Well, gentlemen, really appreciate your time today. As we do every week, here we are at the end of episode 35. So I'll have this compiled into a blog post. You can find every week all of the recordings out on buckleyplanet.com, and I'll post it out to all the social networks as well. Continue asking the questions. Post it out to the Office 365 Teams and Microsoft Tech community site, so Facebook and over on Tech Community. Or you can email us directly at officehours@collabtalk.com, and we're happy to take those questions during the week. And so got a couple minor homework items. I have one full homework item. Sean tried to get out of another one. So we're happy to try and field those during the week as well. So with that, thanks everybody, and to Eric for being here part of the time. Liam was probably hiding in the wings somewhere. Didn't want to show his face today. It's probably no clouds where he is, so he saw his shadow. So that's just my guess. But anyway, well, thanks guys. I'm gonna take us out with some royalty-free gaming music again. So we'll talk to you later.
Cool.
See you next week. Next Monday
Bye.
morning, 8 a.m.
Next
Pacific. We'll be back.
Monday.
Monday.
Indeed.
Of course, that's delayed music.
Wait for the gaming music. I'll leave.